Alara and Julian were childhood sweethearts, inseparable since they were young. But when they were 15, they were kidnapped by human traffickers. On the road, Alara gave Julian the only chance to escape. "Julian, run. Don't look back." "Alara, wait for me. I'll bring people to save you." 10 years later, Julian finally found Alara, who had been sold to a remote mountain village. But the bright and cheerful girl from his youth had been tormented into a haggard village woman with graying hair. Even so, Julian defied his family and friends' objections, and insisted on marrying Alara. On their wedding night, Julian held Alara's hand, his eyes red and his voice choked with emotion. "Alara, if you hadn't given me the chance to escape back then, I would have been the one sold into the mountains. So don't worry, I'll take responsibility for you. No matter what, you'll always be my wife, Julian's wife." Alara was deeply moved, believing that the shadows of the past 10 years were finally lifting, and she was finally welcoming the sunshine into her life. However, half a year into their marriage, Julian had never slept with her. At first, Julian's excuse was, "Alara, you just came back, I know you still have trauma, so I won't force you." Then it was, "Alara, I haven't been feeling well lately. The doctor said I should abstain from sex, so we have to follow the doctor's orders, okay?" Later, it became, "Alara, you know a lot has happened to the Song family recently. I'm not in the mood for those things, you understand, right?" Alara went from shy anticipation to a calm indifference, and then to complete despair. She wasn't stupid. Julian's repeated refusal to consummate their marriage made her realize the reason. But she still chose to deceive herself. Julian wasn't like that. It just wasn't the right time. Until one night, as she passed Julian's room, she heard sounds of pleasure. She quietly pushed the door open a crack and saw Julian in the throes of passion with a woman. And that woman was her half-sister, Bella. Alara felt her blood turn to ice, unable to recover for a long time. After the act was over, she overheard their conversation. "Julian, you've been married to my sister for half a year. Have you really not slept with her?" "No, I can't bring myself to." "Why? Weren't you childhood sweethearts? Didn't you used to like her the most?" "Because I think she's dirty." After a pause, Julian added, 10 years, a lot of things have changed, including feelings. I married her against everyone's wishes to repay her for saving my life. I'll take responsibility for her, but I can't be a real husband to her." In that instant, a thunderbolt struck Alara's mind, leaving it blank, her face devoid of color. She didn't know how she got back to her room. When she came to her senses, her heart ached so much it was hard to breathe, and tears fell like broken pearls, emitting suppressed and helpless sobs. What Julian didn't know was that the human traffickers had only wanted to kidnap him. But Alara had mistakenly taken the hit for him. Alara hadn't told Julian about this because the past 10 years were too terrible, too cruel. She couldn't bear to scare him. For 10 years, she had lived a life worse than an animal in that mountain village, constantly abused by that beast of a man and tormented by that vicious old woman. She had wanted to commit suicide countless times. But whenever she thought of killing herself, she would remember Julian. The Nan and Song families were family friends, and Alara and Julian had grown up together since childhood, inseparable sweethearts. As they got older, the childhood friendship began to change. During their adolescence, their hearts stirred, and they fell in love. After Julian broke the ice, they officially started dating. Unlike other young couples dating early, the Nan and Song families already had the idea of a marriage alliance, so the adults not only didn't object when they saw them together, but they also strongly supported it. With the blessing of their parents, Julian doted on Alara even more recklessly. Alara was talented and beautiful, and was the school's recognized beauty. She had countless suitors, and whenever someone sent her a love letter, Julian would always tear them up jealously, and then write her love letters like crazy. He would then read those love letters aloud over the school's intercom to declare his ownership. Alara, as the eldest daughter of the Nan family, had been spoiled since childhood. Although Julian was also the eldest son of the Song family, he would get up an hour early every day to line up for her favorite popular breakfast, no matter the weather. Alara's grades weren't great, but her artistic talents were excellent. To be in the art class with her, Julian deliberately submitted a blank test paper to get his parents to agree to let him study art. These little things were Alara's only support for surviving 10 years in hell. It was Julian's love for her that kept her going. That's why 10 years not only didn't fade Alara's feelings for Julian, but made them even stronger. After all, that love was the only beautiful thing in her life of hell. But she never expected that the freedom she sacrificed herself to give Julian would ultimately lead to this. She didn't expect that her love for Julian would grow deeper, while his feelings for her had long disappeared. She remembered that when Julian came to save her, Bella was with him. At the time, she didn't pay much attention to it. But for the past 6 months of their marriage, Bella had been frequently appearing at their house. Julian was always very happy whenever he saw her, his face lighting up like he used to when he looked at her. Alara felt hurt, but she chose to deceive herself. She couldn't believe that the Julian she loved so deeply would fall in love with another woman. It wasn't until she witnessed that scene just now and heard Julian's words that she realized how ridiculous she had been. Alara looked at herself in the mirror. Young as she was, she had many gray hairs. Her face was weathered and lined with wrinkles, making her look more than 10 years older than Julian. Yes, who would love a face like that and such a dirty body? Alara silently shed tears, the pain in her heart spreading throughout her body. After a long time, she made a decision. Since her existence caused Julian so much pain, then she would leave. She remembered that her hellish village was not the only place where women were trafficked. She decided to rescue those women. But she had no money, no resources, no evidence. She couldn't do it alone. Alara thought for a moment and dialed a number. "Hello, Silas, do you remember me? It's Alara." "Yes, I've heard about your situation. I want to cooperate with you on something. Are you willing?" After Alara explained her plan, Silas agreed and said, "I still have some business matters to handle abroad, so I probably won't be back in the country for another half a month. Can you wait for me for half a month?" "Okay." After hanging up, Alara felt relieved. Someone like her, someone everyone disliked, someone with no value. The only thing she could do was this. Silas said he would be back in half a month, so she only needed to stay for another half a month to give Julian his freedom. She was fortunate that although she and Julian were married, they hadn't registered their marriage. Because Julian had said at the time, "Alara, you just came back, a lot of things haven't been settled yet. It's a bit troublesome to register now, let's do it later." Alara had foolishly believed him. Now it seemed that he just didn't want her to become his real wife. But fortunately, they hadn't registered, so she could leave without hesitation in half a month. Alara didn't sleep all night. The next morning, when she went downstairs for breakfast, she ran into Julian and Bella coming out of his room. The three of them collided, creating an awkward situation. Just as Julian was about to explain guiltily, Alara forced a pale smile and said, "Bella's here to see me again? But I just woke up." "Julian, thank you for entertaining Bella." Those words greatly relieved the two people who were having an affair. Julian immediately walked over and gently stroked Alara's head, saying, "Alara, why didn't you sleep longer? Why are you up so early?" Alara's heart was filled with bitterness, and tears involuntarily welled up in her eyes. There was a time when Julian loved to stroke her head like this, but at that time, his eyes were full of love for her, not the deliberate tenderness he was showing now. Alara clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging into her palms. Only this way could she keep the tears from falling. "And nothing. I was just hungry and wanted to get up for breakfast early." "Okay, what do you want to eat? I'll have the housekeeper make it for you." At the dinner table, Julian kept putting food on Alara's plate. "Alara, eat this. You used to love it." "Alara, drink more milk. You're too thin." "Alara, do you want to eat fruit? I'll peel it for you." Julian's every move was just like the young man who had spoiled her rotten back in the day. Although Alara knew he was deliberately acting, she couldn't help but drown in this tenderness and false love. It had been so long since she had felt loved. At this moment, Bella suddenly said enviously, "Sister and brother-in-law's relationship is so good, I'm so jealous." Julian laughed. "Don't worry, little girl, you'll meet a man who is completely devoted to you too." "Humph, I don't believe it. There's no such thing as a man who truly loves me in this world." Alara could tell that Bella was jealous. She could tell. And Julian could tell even more. He put his hand under the table, using the table to hide the movement, reached out to hold Bella's hand, and looked at her with eyes full of love, saying, "Who knows? Maybe that person is near but far away. What Julian didn't know was that Alara's vantage point was perfect, allowing her to see everything happening under the table. Alara's body stiffened, her heart aching, and tears almost fell. Bella looked happy and shy. She glanced at Alara, who had a pale face, and deliberately said, "Sister and brother-in-law's relationship is so good. When are you planning to have children?" The words "have children" were like a bomb. Alara's eyes widened. She took deep breaths, and her face turned even paler, as if she had heard something terrible. During those 10 years in hell, she had been constantly forced, constantly pregnant. Each time she became pregnant, she would use extremely violent and painful methods to abort the fetus. After several times, she had ruined her body. She could no longer get pregnant. What kind of torment a woman who can't get pregnant would suffer when she was bought as a wife? One could imagine. So Alara felt unbearably painful at the thought of these things and couldn't help but gag. Seeing this, Julian worriedly wanted to support Alara, but Bella suddenly looked aggrieved and said, "Sister, why are you like this? Is it so painful for you to give brother-in-law a child? Or have you already had children with your old and ugly husband before, so you're so resistant to giving brother-in-law children?" Julian's outstretched hand froze in midair, and the heartache in his eyes was gradually replaced by disgust and indifference. "Alara, have you really had children before?" No. Alara squeezed those words through her teeth, but her heart was still wounded by Julian's words. Bella looked innocent and said, "But sister, when I read the news, the trafficked women were all used as fertility machines. How could you not have had children?" "Sister, it's okay. Even if you've had children, brother-in-law won't dislike you." "I haven't." Alara almost shouted through tears, her eyes red, glaring at Bella hatefully. To prove her innocence, she could only tear open her living scars. "I haven't had any children because every time I got pregnant, I would use all sorts of means to abort the fetus, eventually making myself unable to have children. So I really haven't had any children." After saying these humiliating things, Alara felt as if her strength had been drained, and she slumped weakly in her chair. She hung her head low, not daring to look at Julian, afraid of his disapproving gaze. At the same time, when she thought of the affection they had shared in their youth, she held on to a sliver of hope and cautiously raised her head. She saw Julian's expression, full of shock and intense disgust, as he instinctively took 2 steps away from her. He didn't say a word, but every expression, every gesture, was enough to make Alara's heart bleed. Alara's hands and feet turned ice cold, and an overwhelming sense of humiliation, inferiority, and pain instantly swept through her entire body, worse than death. Tears fell silently. She didn't even dare to cry out loud, afraid that Julian would hate her even more. So sister has been pregnant so many times. But if sister can't have children, what will brother-in-law do? You can't let the Song family have no heir, can you? Enough. Julian said quietly, stopping Bella's words. Then he said, "Alara, you eat slowly. I promised Bella this morning that I'd take her out to play, so we'll leave first." He paused and suddenly added, "Oh, by the way, don't go into my room. I don't like outsiders going in there. I have a thing about cleanliness." After they left, Alara finally couldn't hold back any longer and burst into tears. That sentence, "I have a thing about cleanliness," stabbed Alara's already bleeding heart, causing her unbearable pain. How could she not know the real meaning of Julian's words? Alara cried hysterically, crying until she couldn't breathe. When they were young, Julian loved to bring her into his room and proudly show off his various collections, including every gift she had given him. Back then, young Julian would say triumphantly, "Alara, anything that belongs to you, I'll cherish and collect. Seeing those things is like seeing you." Then he would say pitifully, "When are you going to marry me? I want you to live in my room. I want to see you the moment I open my eyes every day." But 10 years later, Julian despised her body as dirty and forbade her from entering his room. "Ha ha." Alara laughed as she cried. Clearly, the person who was supposed to suffer these pains was Julian, not her. She had suffered in Julian's place. She had clearly saved Julian, so why was she being hurt by him like this? In the evening, a despondent Alara received a call from Bella. "Sister, help. Brother-in-law is drunk at the bar. I can't carry him alone." Come quickly. Alara hesitated, because she was afraid that Julian wouldn't want to see her. But she was very worried about Julian. After thinking for a long time, she finally decided to go out. She took a taxi to the bar that Bella had mentioned and found the private room they were in. But when she pushed the door open, she didn't see Julian, but several male models who had taken off their clothes. Alara was so frightened that she wanted to turn around and leave. But as soon as she turned, she was pulled inside. What are you doing? Let me go. Alara scolded them, but the male models were unmoved, touching her all over and acting very presumptuously. At this moment, Alara felt a hand reach inside her clothes, and she immediately remembered being violated by that disgusting man in the past. She immediately reacted with a loud scream and struggled and howled madly. But those male models had been paid. Ignoring Alara's madness, they tore her shirt, revealing the tank top underneath. Alara was helpless and frightened, screaming and crying. Just then, the door of the private room was kicked open, and the movements of the male models inside immediately stopped. Alara saw this and quickly broke free from the male model's grasp, thinking that she was saved, but she didn't expect to see Julian, Bella, and some of their friends standing outside the door. Wow, Julian, your sister-in-law's got some wild tastes, one of the friends said sarcastically. Julian looked at the naked male models, and then at the disheveled Alara, his expression changing repeatedly. He said in a deep voice, Alara, give me an explanation. Alara's face was covered in tears, her hair and clothes were messy, making it look as if she was having a great time with the male models. She quickly straightened her clothes and hair, trying to calm herself. Julian, Bella told me to come here. I didn't know what was in the room before I came. Bella looked surprised, then became incredibly aggrieved. Sister, why are you framing me? I've been with brother-in-law all night. I didn't ask you to come here at all. Bella, it was clearly you who called me, saying Julian was drunk and you couldn't carry him alone, so I came. Why are you lying? Tears welled up in Bella's eyes, looking incredibly pitiful. Sister, I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying that I deliberately asked you to come here and deliberately ordered some male models for you to play with? But why would I do that? And do you have any proof? Alara was stunned. Proof? Where would she get proof? She hadn't recorded her conversation with Bella at all. Under Julian's increasingly ugly expression, Alara was anxious, but she didn't know how to prove her innocence. Julian, it really was Bella who asked me to come. I really don't know what's going on with these people. Julian, believe me. I really didn't do anything to betray you. At this time, his friends began to speak one after another. Bella ordering male models for you. How is that possible? Bella was protected by her family growing up. Let alone ordering male models. If we hadn't brought her here, she wouldn't even dare to come into a bar. Sister Alara, we all know about your experiences. To put it bluntly, you've been through so much. Julian marrying you is a kindness. You can't disregard his reputation just because he's kind. I heard that women who are trafficked are everyone's plaything. Sister Alara, seeing that you ordered so many male models, is it possible that you've served every man in the village over the past 10 years? After saying that, everyone burst into laughter. Alara bit her lip hard, her face pale, tears falling like large beads. The suffering she had endured, the torture she had suffered, was now being used by these people to make dirty jokes, ignoring her suffering, ignoring the misery of those trafficked girls. Moreover, she had suffered all of those things in Julian's place, so what wrong had she done? Julian, I'll say it again, I really didn't, it was Bella who. Enough. Julian's voice was very soft, but it was possible to feel the anger it contained. He said in a very cold, expressionless tone, Bella is not like you. She is pure, pure in both body and soul. Just that sentence was enough to kill Alara. She couldn't control her tears, her internal organs ached as if they were being strangled, and her hands and feet went numb. Julian. Alara really wanted to tell the truth about what had happened back then. But as soon as she opened her mouth, she felt exhausted. Forget it, telling the truth now was meaningless. Julian added, I forgot to tell you we're going back to the Nan family for dinner in a few days. Before we go back, wash yourself clean. After Julian and his friends left, Alara was completely devoid of strength, slumped in the corner like a dead dog. She didn't understand. Wasn't she rescued from hell? Why hadn't she seen the light yet? A few days later, they were about to return to the Nan family for dinner. Because of what happened that day, Alara had become timid, and even wore clothes that were tightly covering. Alara knew that what happened that day wasn't her fault, but after a person had suffered torture for 10 years, many reactions had become conditioned reflexes. Julian was now her husband and her provider. She didn't dare to resist or question her provider, because she was afraid of not having food to eat. Just like before in that hellish place, she had only said one word back, and that man and his mother had beaten and scolded her, and even locked her in a pigsty, denying her food and drink for 7 days. She could only fight the pigs for food. Such memories were deeply engraved in her bones. Having been away from real life for 10 years, she no longer knew how to express her anger. Julian looked at Alara's timid appearance, so different from the spirited, sunny girl she had been in the past, and frowned, his eyes showing some disgust. He said, "Alara, you're back now. This isn't that village. You don't need to be like this anymore." Bella added, "Is sister deliberately acting like this to gain sympathy? But you were the one who did wrong that night. And it's not our fault that you were trafficked, so why should we bear this guilt? Isn't this moral blackmail?" Because of these words, the timid Alara became even more at a loss, and didn't even know how to place her hands and feet. Julian said impatiently, "Forget it, get in the car." After finishing, he added, "Alara, you sit in the back. Bella is used to sitting in the front with me." Alara nodded fearfully, got into the car fearfully, and fearfully watched the two of them walking side by side, looking so well matched. Tears welled up in her eyes, and Alara's heart ached. Julian was still as handsome as he was when he was young, and Bella was still as petite and sweet as she was when she was young. Only she was neither young nor old, neither dead nor alive like trash. After arriving at the Nan family, Alara became even more restrained. When she was rescued, she thought her family would be happy about her return, and would be heartbroken about what she had experienced, but she didn't expect to be met with disgust. Everyone knew what women who were trafficked would experience. If it had only been 1 or 2 years, her family might have felt sorry for her, but it had been 10 years. As Julian said, 10 years, many things had changed, not just his feelings, but also the feelings of her family. That was why Julian was willing to marry her, willing to support her, which was enough for her to be grateful for. Walking into the Nan family, seeing the familiar scene, Alara felt nostalgic, but more than that she was afraid. The next moment she saw her older brother, Adrian, stride over. Bella excitedly rushed over. "Big brother." Adrian smiled and stroked her head affectionately. "Bella, you've come back. You need to know when to stop playing. How can you always bother Julian?" Julian laughed. "How could it be a bother? I'm more than happy when Bella comes to find me." "Big brother." Alara called out timidly. Adrian glanced at her, frowned, and ignored her. After a long time, Adrian cleared his throat and instructed Alara, "There are many guests coming today, so be careful not to embarrass the Nan family." Alara nodded, but when she looked up, she found that the 3 of them had already walked away, talking and laughing. She felt endless sorrow in her heart, but she wiped away her tears and followed them. There were many people at the banquet, all relatives from both the Nan and Song families, creating a lively atmosphere. But when the crowd saw Alara, the liveliness stopped abruptly, and everyone looked at her with curious eyes. Especially the children, they gathered together and stared at her, whispering to each other. Alara lowered her head, feeling a bit lost. Just then Bella suddenly came to her side, put her arm around her shoulder and said loudly, "You always laugh at my sister for being abducted, but now my sister is back, you can't laugh at me anymore." As soon as she finished speaking, the children came hopping over and surrounded her, chattering. "Are you the auntie who was abducted? The adults all say that only bad children get abducted, so are you a bad child? My mom said that people who are abducted become kidnappers too. She's back to kidnap us kids. Kidnappers die. Let's beat the kidnapper to death." Several children immediately threw their toys and snacks at Alara. There were many children, and all sorts of things kept hitting her, not very painful, but humiliating enough. However, throughout this process, not a single adult stood up to stop the children. Alara barely managed to block the objects with her arms when a child ran behind her, raised a flower vase from the table high above his head, and slammed it down hard on her head. With a bang. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Alara felt a sharp pain in her head, followed by a warm, red liquid slowly flowing down from her head. She paused, then slowly turned around. Just as the child was about to grab an ashtray from the table to hit her again, she grabbed the child's hand. Ah! The kidnapper is going to grab me and sell me. Help! The kidnapper is going to abduct me to the mountains. The child screamed incessantly, as if Alara was the one bullying her. Finally, some adults came over. The child's mother took the child away and glared fiercely at Alara. What do you think you're doing? The child was just joking with you. How can you lay a hand on her? You're supposed to be a daughter-in-law of the Song family. How can you be so ill-mannered? I didn't. He hit me on the head with a flower vase. Julian walked over and scolded in a low voice. Enough! You're an adult. Are you going to argue with a child? But my head. It's just a small wound. Put some medicine on it, and it will be fine. Alara suddenly deflated, and all the grievances and unwillingness could only be suppressed. She remembered when she was young, and the children in her family were naughty and threw pebbles at her. She wasn't hurt, but Julian was so angry that he insisted on beating the child to vent her anger. But now, Alara's eyes turned red, and she silently lowered her head. Seeing this, Julian finally couldn't bear it and said, "Go and take care of your wound. Come back to eat later." Because of this incident, at the dinner table, her parents and older brother constantly blamed her in front of everyone. Alara, you can't lay a hand on a child just because they made a few jokes with you, can you? It's a fact that you were abducted. What did the child say wrong? I don't know what you experienced there, but how did you become so ill-mannered? Look at the white hair on your head. Look at the bloodstains on your face. Why do you always bring shame to the Nan family? I don't know what kind of sin my Nan family committed to have a daughter like you. I even wish you hadn't been rescued. Alara dared not say a word in rebuttal. Over the past 10 years, she had become a completely cowardly person. Tears kept falling into the rice bowl. Alara listened to the accusations while stuffing the rice mixed with tears into her mouth, tasting only bitterness. The unbearable banquet finally ended. Before going home in the evening, she went to her old room. In the room, she looked at the photos on the wall, showing a youthful and bright girl, so sunny and energetic. Alara felt a little dazed. Was such a beautiful person really her? Had she really lived so freely? Was the life of being loved by her parents and older brother, and doted on by Julian real? She didn't know, she really didn't know anything. Alara's tears broke free and she burst into loud sobs. Her heart really hurt, it hurt so much, it hurt to the bone. She had clearly been rescued. She had clearly climbed out of hell, but why was she still living worse than death? She was clearly the victim, so why did she have to be treated like this? Alara cried for a long time, until she could no longer shed tears, and her emotions were slightly better. In the darkness, Alara was stunned, and then silently grinned. It doesn't matter, after a few more days she will leave this place, and then this hellish life can end. Since the banquet, Alara had locked herself in her room and refused to come out, until the last 3 days before leaving. That morning, Julian frantically kicked open her door, rushed into her room, and questioned her angrily. Alara, what did you do to Bella? Even if you're jealous of Bella, you shouldn't contact kidnappers and take her away. Alara looked puzzled. Julian, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Julian was so angry that he had lost his mind. He grabbed Alara's collar hard and roared. Stop pretending. Someone saw Bella being grabbed by kidnappers in a black car, and heard her last words were Alara. So you still don't admit it? Alara shook her head in panic. It wasn't me. I really didn't do it, Julian. You have to believe me. How can I believe you? Lately, you've seen Bella being loved by us, so you became jealous and cooperated with kidnappers to abduct Bella, didn't you? No, I really didn't. Enough. Julian was so angry that his eyes turned red. Do you know that in the past 10 years, I wanted to give up looking for you countless times? If Bella hadn't constantly encouraged me, you might still be stuck in that village. Bella is such a good girl, how could you bear to do this to her? Alara widened her eyes, her heart felt like it had been hit hard, and tears instantly welled up in her eyes. So, Julian had wanted to give up on her countless times. So for the past 10 years, she had been deluding herself that Julian would definitely come to save her. So, she had already been abandoned by everyone. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, Alara's heart felt like it was being cut open by countless knives, repeatedly tortured, and suffering unbearable pain. I really regret it. I really don't know why I rescued you. If I hadn't rescued you, would Bella not have been in trouble? Alara, you are so cruel. How can you use such vicious methods to deal with Bella? Alara felt a sweet, fishy taste rising in her throat. She looked at Julian with a sad and desperate gaze. Then what do you want me to do? Julian was frightened by her gaze, and his heart couldn't help but twinge. But when he thought of Bella, his heart hardened again. What do I want you to do? Of course, go and find Bella for me. If you can't find her, I will personally send you back to that village. Alara slowly nodded, revealing a decisive and relieved smile. Julian, I am very grateful for your kindness to me when we were young. But after this matter, we will be even, okay? Julian was not in the mood to listen to what she was saying at all, and nodded quickly anxiously. Whatever you say, as long as you can find Bella for me. Alara went out, but she really didn't know where Bella was. The only place she could go was the prison, to find the kidnapper who had abducted her before. But unexpectedly, after hearing what she said, the kidnapper laughed. Ha ha ha. You idiot, let me tell you, Bella was definitely not abducted by kidnappers. Alara frowned. What do you mean by that? It doesn't mean anything, I just want to tell you don't worry, that bitch Bella will be fine. Alara couldn't get anything out of her, but she had to do what she promised Julian. She had no choice. She could only return to the place that frightened her. She didn't want anyone else to experience the torture she had suffered. Even if that person was Bella. Finally, she found Bella. More precisely, Bella took the initiative to appear in front of her. Huff. Alara was exhausted and had little strength left. It's good that you're okay. But looking at Bella, who was completely unharmed, she seemed to suddenly realize something. She asked, why did you deliberately frame me? Bella looked at her and sneered. Because I hate you. You hate me? Ha ha ha, what's there to hate about me? I'm just a woman who was abducted and living a life worse than death. Alara said sarcastically. Bella stared at her, her eyes full of resentment. Yeah, even though you're a woman who is so dirty, Julian still wants to marry you and give you a title. So tell me, how can I not hate you? Alara was stunned, then smiled and said, so what? It's just marriage. We didn't register our marriage, we didn't sleep together, we're not a real couple. So what? Bella's expression became fierce. Even so, I hate you. Alara, why? From childhood to adulthood, you were the most beloved daughter of the family, you got everything you wanted, and you were beautiful, lively, and outgoing. You were simply the perfect female protagonist. But what about me? I have always lived in your shadow, ignored by my family, bullied by my classmates, and even Julian, who I like the most, also loves you. I'm not willing. Why did you get everything, but I got nothing? After Bella finished speaking, she suddenly laughed. But luckily, you were abducted and taken into the mountains, where no one could find you. Do you know? In the 10 years you were gone, I became the most beloved child in the family, and I also became the person Julian loves the most. I successfully lived the life you used to live. In the next second, her expression became ferocious again. But why did you come back? Why didn't you stay in that village for the rest of your life? You should have died in the mountains. Alara listened to her quietly. She never knew that Bella was so jealous of her. She smiled and said, Bella, don't worry, Julian loves you, he is still yours, and you don't have to worry about me stealing him away, because I'm about to leave. Ha! Ridiculous. Do you think I will believe your words? You have no one to rely on now. Julian is the only person you can rely on. How could you be willing to leave? Whether you believe it or not, that's the truth. I wish you both a happy marriage. After saying this, Alara finally couldn't hold on and fainted. When she woke up, she was already in the hospital, with a nutrient solution dripping into her hand. Alara. Julian's voice came. Alara turned her head and saw Julian's expression, cold with a hint of disgust, but with a flicker of pity in his eyes. He said, Bella has already told me that you collaborated with the traffickers to take her away. But don't worry, I didn't let her call the police. Alara smiled, the smile a little pale. Is that so? Then thank you for your great kindness and virtue. She rarely spoke with such sarcasm. Julian didn't catch the sarcasm in her words and said seriously, "But that doesn't mean I can forgive you." After a pause he said, "To teach you a lesson, don't come home for a while. Go wherever you want, but I won't give you a single penny. Come back after Bella's anger subsides." Okay. Julian was taken aback. Why did you agree so quickly? The Nan family doesn't welcome you now. You have no money and no place to live. You won't survive outside. But if you kneel down and beg Bella for forgiveness, I'll let you off this time. Alara shook her head and smiled. Julian, forget it. I'm really tired, so I'll leave. Julian felt a vague unease in his heart because of this sentence. He said, "Don't worry, I'm just punishing you a little. You can come back after Bella's anger subsides. And," he said with utmost sincerity, "I said I would be responsible for you because you saved my life. I will always take care of you." Alara looked at him, smiling as tears welled up in her eyes. "Julian, do you like Bella very much?" Julian's heart skipped a beat. He was about to deny it, but Alara said, "It doesn't matter, because everything is already over. Julian, do you remember what you promised me?" Remember? So we don't owe each other anything from now on, right? After Julian left, Alara left the hospital in the evening. While Julian and Bella were not at home, she hurried home to pack her important belongings and put the trafficker's confession when he was arrested in her room. The confession read, the trafficker admitted that they only wanted to kidnap Julian. He was the only target. After doing all this, Alara pulled her suitcase and disappeared into the vast night. Alara had been missing for a week. During this week, Julian had been coaxing Bella to forgive Alara. "Bella, you're so kind, can you forgive Alara?" Bella leaned into his arms, pouting with dissatisfaction. "I was almost trafficked into the mountains. I don't want to forgive her so easily. But Alara saved my life. She has no money and no place to live now. I don't even know how she survived this week. What life-saving grace. The traffickers were originally trying to kidnap both of you. In the end, she deserved this crime. You were just lucky to escape, so you don't always have to morally blackmail yourself." "That's true, but..." Before Julian could finish, Bella suddenly said angrily, "Julian, do you still love her? You say you despise her for being dirty, but you feel sorry for her being alone and helpless outside. You still love her, don't you?" Julian was about to open his mouth, but found that he didn't know how to defend himself. He didn't want to lie. He couldn't resolutely say that he no longer loved Alara, but did he love Alara? He couldn't say for sure either. The youthful friendship had not dissipated. Occasionally in the middle of the night, he would still dream of the sunny, radiant Alara. Just thinking of the Alara of the past was enough to make him feel a little more gentle towards the Alara of the present. Julian sighed. "No matter how I feel about her, I didn't get a marriage certificate with her, and I didn't share a bed with her. All she got was a status, while you are my true love." After receiving Julian's promise, Bella felt a little better, and then nodded in agreement. "Okay, I agree to you calling her back. But I have a condition, and that is that I want to move in." Julian readily agreed to her condition. Alara might have objections, but Alara could only rely on him to survive now. What could she do with objections? He had always felt that he was Alara's salvation. Julian immediately took out his mobile phone to call Alara, but the call could not be connected. Strange, why can't I get through? Although Julian hadn't given Alara money, he had topped up her phone with a lot of credit. The phone shouldn't be out of credit. At this moment, he suddenly felt panicked, a sense of unease welling up in his heart, a feeling that he would never find Alara again. In order to dispel the uneasiness in his heart, he found a few bodyguards from his house, and went out with him to look for her. They searched for a whole day, but found no trace of Alara. Logically speaking, Alara had no money and no friends, so she shouldn't go too far, but why couldn't they find her? The unease in Julian's heart grew stronger. He suddenly wondered if Alara had returned to the Nan family. With this thought in mind, he rushed to the Nan family. "What? You said Alara is missing?" Adrian was very surprised, but soon revealed a look of disgust. She has no money, no education, and no skills. What is she doing leaving home? She's already like this. Why can't she learn to be content? Julian shamefully explained the whole story. Adrian became even more disgusted after hearing this, and said indignantly, "How could she do such a thing? I didn't expect 10 years of torment to turn her into such a vicious person. In that case, it's good that she's gone." It seemed that Alara hadn't returned to the Nan family either. Julian felt very disappointed, and could only continue to search with the bodyguards. Here, Adrian felt a little depressed after Julian left, feeling unspeakably troubled. Alara is the shame of the Nan family. It had been 10 years, and everything had returned to normal, but why did they have to rescue Alara? Adrian felt extremely painful whenever he thought of this, and the root of the pain was that he had hardened his heart, and didn't want to have anything to do with Alara anymore. But as soon as he heard that she was missing, he would instinctively worry about her. He was absent-minded and unknowingly walked to Alara's former room. He pushed the door open and saw the wall full of photos. The photos recorded Alara's appearance from childhood to adulthood, and the time was fixed when she was 15 years old. The 15-year-old Alara was so sunny and bright, completely different from the woman he had seen a few days ago. Adrian looked at the photos and remembered the past with Alara, and his eyes couldn't help but turn red. He and Alara were siblings a few years apart in age. As her brother, he had always loved his sister very much. As for Bella, back then he and Alara didn't like this child of his father's mistress. Although they didn't like her, they wouldn't make things difficult for her. A lot of us couldn't. But 10 years had passed, and things had changed. Now he and Bella had the best relationship, and Alara had become the person he hated the most. But actually, what did Alara do wrong? She was the victim. She did nothing wrong. Just because she was kidnapped and tortured, she became a person who was hated by everyone. Wasn't Alara pitiful? At this moment, Adrian suddenly didn't understand how he had become like this. He was Alara's own brother. He felt ridiculous. When Alara was most helpless and uncomfortable, he actually disliked her, but clearly none of it was her fault. Adrian's heart ached in waves. Awakening came in an instant. Thinking of his behavior towards Alara, he felt extremely regretful. How could he treat Alara like this? Adrian decided that after finding Alara this time, he would apologize to her and be good to her. He wanted to become Alara's best brother again. 3 days passed, and Julian still hadn't found Alara. He used all his connections and searched almost the entire city, but still couldn't find Alara. Just when he was discouraged, he received a video from Bella on his phone. "Julian, this is the surveillance footage from home. I just saw it." Julian clicked on the video and saw that 10 days ago, Alara had returned home from the hospital in the evening, and after a while he saw her pulling a suitcase and leaving. She left very resolutely, without looking back once. After watching the video, Julian was struck by lightning. In other words, Alara wasn't missing, but she had left completely. Julian couldn't believe the result of this matter. How could Alara leave? Alara had no money, no education, and no job. How could she leave? Julian didn't believe it no matter what. He rushed home and saw Bella crying with pear blossoms in the rain. "Julian, I'm sorry. Did sister leave because of me? It's all my fault. If I could have forgiven sister earlier, wouldn't she have left? Bella, it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself." Julian was upset and said perfunctorily, "But now that sister is gone, what should we do?" Bella was overjoyed in her heart after learning that Alara had left. She originally wanted to use this matter to make Alara aware of herself, and not be infatuated anymore. Unexpectedly, Alara had left? This was really God helping her. Now, she could finally be with Julian openly. Julian was silent, and after a while he said with a touch of pique, "Since she wants to leave, then let her go. I want to see how a person like her will survive outside." Julian was confident that Alara definitely wouldn't be able to last long outside. But as time passed day by day, Alara still didn't return. Julian went from being angry at first to being anxious and worried now. Impossible. There's absolutely no way for Alara to survive outside on her own. Why hasn't she come back yet? But he couldn't bear to lose face and look for her again. Annoyed, he had to go to a bar with a friend to drown his sorrows. As he was drinking, he suddenly saw Bella. Strange, why did Bella come to the bar alone? Bella is so naive and pure. What if something happens to her coming to the bar alone? Thinking of this, Julian sobered up by half and immediately walked over. But unexpectedly, before he had even remembered to call out to her, he saw Bella talking to a male model in the bar. "Beauty, how can you break your promise? You promised us 100,000 last time, but you only gave us 10,000. How dare you say that? I told you to rape Alara last time, but did you do it? If you didn't do it, why should I give you 100,000? After 10 years, Alara saw Silas again. 10 years later, Silas was tall, handsome, and had a cold temperament, completely unlike the small and timid boy he was in his youth. Alara was a little stunned, and it took her a long time to recover. Silas. In the villa, Silas crossed his long legs. Sitting on the sofa, he looked at the woman in front of him from head to toe, and after a long time he said uncertainly, "You are Alara? You have changed a lot compared to before." Alara smiled bitterly, and naturally heard the meaning in his words. She said, "After being tortured for 10 years, isn't it normal to become like this?" Silas said, "Don't misunderstand, I don't mean anything else. I'm just a little surprised. I sympathize with your experience very much, and I can empathize with you very much. After all, both you and I are victims." This is why Alara approached Silas. Silas, like her, was also a victim of human trafficking. The difference was that Silas was trafficked at the age of 5 and rescued 10 years later. After he was rescued, he transferred to Alara's class, which is how they met. Although they knew each other, they weren't close at all. At that time, Silas had just returned from the countryside and naturally felt out of place in this aristocratic school. Even though he was the eldest son of the Liu family, he couldn't change his inherent inferiority complex, so he was very cautious and timid in the face of the surrounding environment. And Alara was the school's beauty, beautiful, lively, and cheerful. Faced with such a person, Silas felt even more inferior, so he basically never spoke to Alara. The memory ended, Silas stood up and extended his hand, inviting her to sit down. "Now that you have nowhere to go, if you don't mind, you can stay here. Now that you have nowhere to go, if you don't mind, you can stay here." Alara was surprised. "Is that really okay? Wouldn't it be too much trouble? And if I live here, won't your lover misunderstand?" Silas smiled. "Don't worry, the villa is so big, you won't bother me. And I don't have a lover. I've been single all these years." "Is that so?" Alara was a little disbelieving. After all, Silas was rich and good-looking. Could such a person be single? Silas saw the disbelief in her eyes and chuckled. "Over the years, I've been working hard to overcome the shadows, studying hard and working hard, so naturally I haven't had the time or inclination to fall in love." "I see." Alara sincerely praised. "It's obvious that you've successfully shaken off the shadow of that experience." The current Silas looked confident and powerful, completely like the head of the Liu family. "But compared to you, my experience is completely insignificant." The trafficked boy and girl face two different situations. Boys are trafficked to be successors in the buyer's family. Even if they live a hard life, it's not too bad. But when girls are trafficked, they face imprisonment, forced childbirth, and various tortures. So Silas, looking at Alara with her premature white hair and haggard face, could imagine what she had been through and couldn't help but feel sorry for her. "Alara, just stay here and get settled in. Being trafficked wasn't your fault. They shouldn't impose these mistakes on you." For the first time in a long time, Alara was understood and cared for, and she was moved to the point of tears. "Thank you, Silas." However, Alara didn't want to freeload, so she took the initiative to ask, "Silas, is there anything you need me to do? I can do anything." "Then what can you do?" Alara was speechless. She had no education or skills, and she had forgotten all the musical instruments she had learned before. Now, she could be said to be completely useless. Seeing her depression, Silas quickly said, "Alara, your willingness to work with me to combat trafficking is already helping me, so you're not freeloading." "But..." "No buts. Just listen to me, okay? These few days, just rest and eat well. After you feel better, we can discuss the issue of combating trafficking." His attitude was unquestionable, so Alara had no choice but to agree with gratitude. Silas was usually very busy, and Alara had only seen him twice during the few days she stayed in the villa. These days, Without Julian and Bella by her side, Alara felt much lighter. What the book said was indeed right. Stay away from people and things that make you unhappy, and you will be happy. Alara was very grateful that she had the courage to leave Julian. A week later, Alara felt much better, and began to discuss the issue of combating trafficking with Silas. The village where I was before is deep in the mountains, so those traffic girls can't escape even if they want to. And some of the traffic girls have been tortured for too long and are mentally unstable. They can't prove their identities, can't escape, and even the local police not only don't rescue the girls, but also protect the villagers and become one of the perpetrators, further increasing the difficulty for the traffic girls to escape. So they can only continue to stay in that hellish village and continue to endure the torture. So my plan is to massacre the village. Pfft. Silas spat out the tea in his mouth instantly. Cough, cough, cough. What did you say? Massacre the village. Alara quickly explained. No, what I mean is, since the law can't control that village, and the villagers are unwilling to let people go, why don't we take a more extreme approach? For example, create the illusion of a village massacre to scare those villagers into releasing the trafficked girls. Silas was almost scared to death by Alara just now. He calmed down and asked seriously. The method is good, but aren't you afraid of taking legal responsibility? I'm not afraid because I have nothing. What's there to be afraid of for someone who has nothing? Even if I die, I want to save those girls. Alara was very firm. After being devastated for 10 years, she was no longer a healthy person. Both her body and mind were full of holes. For her, death was a relief. So she wasn't afraid of anything. She wasn't even afraid of death. So what else was there to fear? Silas was shocked by Alara's determination, and for a moment, a feeling he couldn't quite describe arose for this girl. Alara, I know you're very brave, but this method is too dangerous. I can't agree. Then do you have a better way? If you don't, then do as I say. Silas, I'm really not afraid of anything. I just want to save those girls. It's the only thing I can do, and it's my only value. But. No buts. Silas, I won't implicate you. You just need to provide the money, and I'll take care of the rest. Even if Silas disagreed with her 1,000 times in his heart, he couldn't dissuade Alara. And he also knew that this was Alara's obsession, so he had to agree to her. Okay, I promise you, but don't worry, I won't just provide the money. After all, like you, I hate those buyers and traffickers. In the following month, the two discussed this matter and finally finalized a plan. Julian's mind was buzzing, unable to believe what the two of them were saying. So last time it wasn't Alara who came out to find male models, but Bella deliberately framed her? Julian couldn't believe this fact, but seeing Bella so skillfully bargaining with the male model, he had to believe it. After the male model left, Bella rolled her eyes and was about to leave when she turned around and ran into Julian. Bella was startled and said guiltily, Julian, why are you here? It's not strange for me to be here. I should be asking you, why are you here? I came to find you, Bella said righteously. You came to the bar without telling me, so I came to find you. Julian felt like he was meeting Bella for the first time. In his impression, Bella was pure, kind, and would never lie, but now she was full of lies and had done such a vicious thing as framing her sister. Bella! Julian's forehead veins jumped, and he finally couldn't help but roar. Do you think I didn't see what you did just now? I never thought you could do such a vicious thing. Bella's face turned pale instantly, and she took 2 steps back in fear. Julian. What are you talking about? What vicious thing? I don't know at all. Enough. Julian had run out of patience. I heard all your conversation with that male model just now. I never thought you would let another man rape your sister, and then frame Alara for it. Bella, how could you be so vicious? Bella's eyes widened suddenly, and her face completely lost its color. She grabbed Julian ingratiatingly, but he pushed her away. Julian, listen to me, I didn't mean to, I just wanted to teach her a lesson. A lesson? Julian was incredulous. You hired someone to rape her to teach her a lesson? Also, what did Alara do wrong that needs you to teach her a lesson? Bella quickly explained, because even though she married you, she can't have children, can't give you children. I couldn't stand it, so I thought about teaching her a lesson. Julian, please forgive me. Although I did these things, she wasn't really hurt. Every word she said shocked Julian, and every word was unbelievable to him. The image of Bella, who was kind, lovely, pure, and innocent in his heart, quickly collapsed, and had completely collapsed into someone he didn't recognize at all. Julian's mind was extremely confused. He didn't know what to do in the face of such a situation. He remembered the scene when Alara was criticized by everyone that day. Her scars were exposed and mocked, and her helplessness and pain. At that time, he had no pity, only joy that Alara was being punished, but now he was being told that Alara was the victim. Alara was framed. Then the harm she suffered that day was no longer a punishment, but deliberate harm. Julian was heartbroken. Alara had been tortured for 10 years and finally returned, but after returning, she was subjected to another kind of torture. Why did God treat her like this? Julian, I'm sorry, will you forgive me, right? Bella begged for forgiveness again with a thick face. Julian looked at her coldly, his eyes churning with anger. Bella, the one you should be asking for forgiveness from is not me, but Alara. What did Alara do wrong to be treated like this? She's already pitiful enough. Why are you so cruel to her? At this moment, Julian finally understood why Alara had left him so resolutely. Not only that, but after a super long delay, he remembered the question Alara asked him in the hospital. Julian, do you really like Bella? So she already knew. Julian's whole body felt like it had been drained of strength, and his hands hung down limply. He didn't dare to imagine what Alara's mood was like after learning about his relationship with Bella. Even though he no longer had the love for Alara from before, he couldn't help but feel heartache and guilt. After a pause, he looked at Bella, his eyes fierce. Bella, move out, I don't want to be with a woman with such a vicious heart. Bella was heartbroken. She thought that after Julian no longer liked Alara, she would be the only one in his heart. But now Julian was actually going to drive her away for Alara's sake? Bella cried. Julian, what am I to you? What have our years together been for? Or is it that your feelings for me are fake, and you still love Alara? Bella, I did love you very much before, but I never thought you were this kind of person. Although I don't love Alara anymore, that's not a reason for you to hurt her. Just because of this, you want to drive me away? Julian, don't you think you're being hypocritical? You had already given up looking for Alara before. If it weren't for me, Alara would never have been rescued in this lifetime. So what right do you have to accuse me? Julian was speechless, and felt very ashamed and guilty in his heart. Bella was right. If it weren't for her, Alara probably wouldn't have been found in her lifetime. After struggling for a long time, Julian said, I'm really sorry to Alara, and I don't have the right to accuse you. So let's break up. Let's just break up. Bella was stunned. She just didn't want to move out. She didn't want to break up with Julian. Julian, you're not serious, right? We've been together for so many years. How can you bear to break up with me? Bella, my mind is really messed up. Let's not see each other for a while. After Julian left, Bella was both angry and sad. She loved Julian so much, she wouldn't give up so easily. After Julian returned home, he collapsed on the bed weakly. Now that Alara is gone, and Bella has become that kind of person, he doesn't understand how things could have turned out this way. But compared to Bella, he is now even more worried about Alara. Alara has no money and no education. How will she gain a foothold in society like this? Will she go hungry? Will she be cold? Will she have no place to live? He really regrets treating Alara that way. How could he have believed that Alara was lonely and went to find male models? Julian is filled with regret. During this time, Julian has not given up searching for Alara, but no matter how he looks, Alara seems to have disappeared, leaving no trace. The more Alara is gone, the more he remembers their past memories. Until one night he dreamed of Alara when she was young. When he woke up, Julian was in tears. He realized that he had always been deeply in love with her. After crying for a long time, Julian had a sudden impulse, and went to the Nan family in the middle of the night. He didn't disturb anyone. He sneaked in by climbing over the wall. Alara had told him about that place being a loophole in the Nan family's surveillance when they were kids. Julian was familiar with the way to Alara's room. The moment he opened the door, he immediately burst into tears. At that time, he had heard Alara crying loudly in the room. He had felt Alara's despair. But at that time, Bella was the only one in his heart, so he didn't come in to comfort her. If time could turn back, He would definitely come in to comfort Alara and promise her that he would never leave her for the rest of his life. But what's the point of saying these words now? Alara has already left, and he has no chance to redeem himself. Who are you? What are you doing here? Julian wiped away his tears and saw a little kid peeking in through the window. He remembered this child. It was the one who had smashed Alara with the vase. So he said unpleasantly, "What are you doing here? This isn't your home." The child said, "It's not my home or your home. And this room is the room of that aunt who was kidnapped, right? Aren't you afraid that she'll come back and kidnap you too?" Julian was very angry. "Why are you so impolite, you little kid? Who taught you to say that?" The child didn't care. Adults all say that, including Aunt Bella. And you don't know, Aunt Bella told me to smash the head of that bad auntie. Look, even the bad auntie's sister hates her so much, so she must be a bad person, a trafficker. What did you say? Julian couldn't believe it and walked out of the room. He grabbed the child. You said that Bella instructed you to smash Alara's head with the vase? Yeah. Aunt Bella told me that that auntie was a bad person, and told me to smash her however I wanted. Afterward, she even bought me a lot of toys. Julian was furious and clenched his fists tightly. Bella. Without saying anything else, he picked up a vase that was placed nearby and stormed angrily towards Bella's room. Alara came to that village again. As soon as she stepped in, all those miserable memories of the past came back, and fear immediately swept through her entire body. Alara, maybe you shouldn't force yourself, Silas suddenly said with some heartache. Alara took a few deep breaths, and her emotions stabilized a lot. She said very firmly, "No, I must rescue those girls." After a pause, she looked at Silas, who was dressed as a migrant worker, covered in dirt, and looked like a completely different person from that glamorous CEO. She said, "Silas, you really didn't have to come. Do you think I would let a girl like you go into a den of devils alone? What's more, my people are ambushed all around. You don't have to worry about my safety. I will protect you too." With that, Alara could only say gratefully, "Silas, thank you." What Alara had to do was to secretly contact those girls. She had to persuade them to work with her. There is strength in numbers, and only then would there be a chance to rescue them all. Alara lived in this village for 10 years and knew everything about it like the back of her hand. She knew exactly who lived where. So when night fell and the whole village was asleep, she began to act. "Silas, do you really have to follow me?" Silas crouched down and whispered, "I'm worried you'll be in danger. But if you're here, I'm afraid you'll be a burden." Silas glanced at her silently and forcefully defended himself. "Don't worry, I'm agile and won't be a burden." Alara quickly took Silas to the first house. This family bought a girl 5 years ago, a college student. At first, that college student constantly resisted, but every time she resisted, she was beaten. Over time, she gave up resisting. Not only that, but in 5 years she had 3 children. Alara was also very uneasy. If that college student didn't have children, she would be confident that she could persuade her, but a woman with children would have more concerns. But she couldn't worry about that anymore. Cuckoo. Alara made the sound of a cuckoo. Before long, a village woman cautiously walked out of the house. When she saw Alara, she was incredibly surprised. "Alara? What are you doing here? Weren't you rescued?" Alara said, "Sister Jenna, I'm here to save you. Are you willing to come with me?" Jenna was very surprised. Leaving this place used to be an unattainable dream for her, but now, she said sadly, "This place is surrounded by mountains. How can we leave? And I'm already like this. What good will it do to leave here? Are you really willing to continue staying here?" "Sister Jenna, I remember you used to tell me that you really liked your college major, and your goal was to become a scientific researcher. Have you forgotten all of that?" Jenna shed tears. I haven't forgotten, but what can I do? Alara, I'm not like you. I'm not as cruel as you. When I was pregnant, I couldn't damage my body like you did, so I've already had 3 children. What else can someone like me do?" Alara choked up. "I don't know what else you can do. Even after I was rescued, I was living a life worse than death, but..." Her eyes became fierce. "I hate it. I hate this place. I hate the traffickers. I hate the buyers. So even if I don't live well after I leave, I'm not willing to continue staying here and complete the demon's wishes." Sister Jenna, are you willing to sacrifice yourself and fulfill others' desires? Even if our future is gone, if I don't have a good time, those demons shouldn't even think about it. If we're going to die, let's all die together. Jenna was very surprised because what Alara said wasn't those fake and empty inspiring words, but this morally incorrect speech. But it was precisely these words that ignited the hatred in her heart. Alara, you're right. If we're going to die, let's all die together. So I'm willing to cooperate with you. Alara was very pleased, and then she told Jenna her plan. Sister Jenna, let's work together and escape from here together. After taking care of Jenna, Alara continued to go to another house. Over the past 10 years, Alara has established friendly relationships with the trafficked girls. Not only that, but they have also secretly created mini codes so that everyone can help each other in times of danger. After Alara was busy all night, she finally persuaded all the trafficked girls. Now everyone is waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the most crucial step in the plan. Silas's heart still couldn't calm down. That night, he saw another side of Alara, a brave, resourceful, strong and decisive girl. It was completely different from the first time he met her. Silas believed that this was Alara's true self. No matter what kind of setbacks a person experiences, their personality and background will not change. Alara is now gradually abandoning the past and becoming herself. Silas's heart was pounding. He still couldn't completely calm down. He didn't want to deny that this Alara was really charming. Silas, what's wrong? Why is your face so red? I'm a little hot. I see. Silas quickly changed the subject. Alara, what are we going to do next? Alara smiled mysteriously and asked, there are less than 60 households in this village, but do you know how many households have trafficked girls? How many households? A full 50 households. So what do you think will happen if the women from these 50 households unite? The next day before noon, the peaceful village suddenly erupted into a shrill scream. Help! Murder! Before long, Jenna was seen running over breathlessly. Alara, we've tied everyone up and gathered them all in the village ancestral hall. Come and take a look. Okay. When Alara and Silas arrived at the ancestral hall, it was full of people tied up, and standing next to them were the trafficked girls, each with a look of indignation, no longer the numb expressions of before. Alara was very satisfied with their anger. This proved that they were alive. Alara, your method really works. After we gave them water from the well today, they lost their strength and let us tie them up. Last night, Alara put medicine in the well and told the girls to give their families water from the well in the morning. The girls didn't disappoint her. Not a single one flinched. Jenna asked, Alara, what are we going to do next? Alara looked at the people who were tied up. They were no different from ordinary farmers, but it was these seemingly simple villagers who were the executioners who ruined so many young, beautiful girls with unlimited futures. Thinking of this, Alara couldn't help but want to kill them. After calming down, Alara said coldly, since calling the police is useless, then we'll use our own methods to take revenge on them. In order to prevent them from trafficking other girls, my suggestion is. As she spoke, she took out a bucket of kerosene. Burn this village down. Half an hour later, everyone looked at the village engulfed in flames and couldn't help but shed tears. This village, which they once regarded as hell, was now burned down by their own hands. They personally ended their tragic fate. Alara was also filled with emotion. Her purpose in gathering people in the ancestral hall was this. She didn't want to kill anyone, but she wouldn't let this village go. Not only that, but Silas also cooperated with the police in another place, and the case would be managed by the police in another place. If nothing went wrong, these villagers would almost all be imprisoned. As for the children who were forced to be born, some chose to take them away, and some chose to let them fend for themselves. Alara had no right to interfere with the descendants of these criminals. Alara, everything is completely over. Let's go back. Silas looked at Alara, who was in tears, and took her hand. At this moment, he really wanted to hug Alara. Afterward, these former buyers were arrested one after another, and the case caused a national sensation. Many reporters wanted to interview Alara, but she refused them all. After returning home not long after, Alara went to the prison and met the human trafficker she had seen before once again. That trafficker had abducted countless people over the years, and in 1 month he would be executed. Inside the prison, the trafficker looked at Alara and laughed. I heard about what happened to you. I never thought you actually had this kind of ability. Do you regret it? Everything you've done. The trafficker raised his brows, sounding helpless. Whether I regret it or not doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to die soon anyway. Then he added, oh, right before I die, I need to tell you something. Back then, when you and that boy were abducted, it was Bella who paid me to kidnap that boy so she could play the hero and win his heart. Who knew things would go wrong and you would end up being the scapegoat? Bang! A loud kick against the door almost frightened Bella off the bed. Once she recovered, she saw Julian storm in with fury on his face, holding a vase. Bella hid under the blanket in fear, trembling as she asked, Julian, what's wrong with you? Why are you at my house so late? Julian was burning with rage and shouted, Bella, what else have you done to Alara? Tell me everything. WH. What? Julian, I don't understand what you're talking about. That day at dinner, you incited those kids to throw things at Alara, didn't you? You told that child to deliberately hit Alara's head with the vase, didn't you? You're really calculating, knowing adults won't blame children, so you use them to do your dirty work. Julian couldn't believe this person in front of him was actually Bella. Bella didn't expect to be found out so quickly. Facing Julian's accusations, she had no words to refute. Julian, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any harm, I just wanted to joke around with my sister. Joke around? By smashing a vase on someone's head? Bella, do you think I'm stupid? I'm not. I didn't. But it already happened, and sister already left. What do you want me to do now? Julian's rage reached its peak. He still remembered how disheveled Alara looked that day. She was hurt, without a place to defend herself, and still had to endure the elders' scolding at the dinner table. He saw Alara silently crying while eating, but at the time he also despised her, so he pretended not to see. He never expected that the harm Alara suffered was all deliberately caused by Bella. Now whenever he thought of Alara that day, his heart ached unbearably. He deeply regretted it. If only he had cared a little more about Alara back then. Would she not have left? Gritting his teeth, eyes burning with fury, he growled. What now? You smashed a vase on Alara's head, so I'll let you taste the same. Before Bella could react, with a loud crash, pain shot through her skull and the vase shattered all over the floor. Bella stared at Julian in disbelief. She couldn't believe he would actually hurt her, for Alara. Only when warm blood dripped down her forehead did she finally realize Julian had really smashed a vase on her head. Ah! Bella screamed and burst into loud sobs. Julian, you bastard! How dare you do this to me? I love you so much. Yet you smash a vase on my head for Alara? Julian, do you even have a heart? Their commotion was too loud, and Adrian rushed over. When he entered and saw shattered pieces everywhere and Bella bleeding profusely, he was so stunned he could barely speak. What on earth is going on here? Bella tried to stop Julian from speaking the truth, but it was too late. Julian exposed everything Bella had done to Alara, including hiring a male model to assault her, and instructing children to smash her head with a vase. Hearing this, Adrian clenched his fists until they cracked. He had already felt guilty toward Alara, and now, hearing Bella's actions, all the goodwill he had for her over the years vanished instantly. Bella. Without hesitation, Adrian slapped her hard. I treated you like my own sister, and this is how you treated Alara? Bella panicked. The Nan family was her last support. If she angered Adrian, all her years of effort would be ruined. She immediately kneeled, crying and pleading. Big brother, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated sister that way. I was just jealous and acted foolishly. I promise, when she comes back, I'll apologize and treat her well. But the moment she said this, Julian broke down again. Alara won't come back. After what we did to her, she won't come back. Adrian felt the same pain. It was all his fault as her brother. Alara was his biological sister, yet his guilt deepened. He swore that when Alara returned, he would make up for everything he owed her over the past 10 years. Julian, overwhelmed, no longer wanted to hear Bella's nonsense. He fled the Nan family home, returned to his villa, and rushed straight into Alara's room. Only by breathing in Alara's lingering scent could he calm down. Julian sat quietly in her room, recalling all their good memories. The more he thought, the more his guilt consumed him. He didn't know how to release the crushing weight in his heart. He remembered when Alara was first rescued, skinny, aged like a woman in her 40s, no longer the bright, confident girl she once was. She had become cautious, timid. Facing that version of Alara, he felt indescribable disgust. If Alara hadn't saved his life, he would never have married her. Just like Bella said, Alara had been kidnapped too. Everything she suffered was simply her fate. Thinking this way, his guilt lessened. He wronged Alara, yes, but he had already done his best. And once he found her, he would treat her even better. Feeling lighter, Julian was about to leave her room when he noticed the drawer of the bookshelf was open. He went to close it and saw a document inside. Julian pulled it out, and it was the trafficker's confession. Once he finished reading, he felt like he had been struck by lightning. He almost couldn't stand. It turned out the trafficker planned to kidnap him only, not him and Alara together. When he escaped, the trafficker wanted to get him back, but Alara held the trafficker back, allowing Julian to escape. With no choice, the trafficker took Alara instead and sold her into the mountains. Julian's breathing became rapid, his mind blank. If this was true, then Alara was completely innocent, utterly blameless. If she hadn't tried to save him, she would never have suffered. Meaning for 10 years, Alara bore the suffering that should have fallen on him. Julian's tears fell uncontrollably. Not only was he horrified, he was in unimaginable pain. He had never known Alara suffered in his place. Alara had broken his fate for him, carried his disaster for him. She had always known, yet never said a word. Why? Why would she do that? Julian collapsed to his knees, crying in agony. He wished the trafficker had intended to take both of them, so his guilt would be less crushing. But reality was far too cruel. How could he ever face Alara again? Julian sobbed until he could barely breathe. Alara saved him. Alara suffered for him. Alara sacrificed herself. And what had he done to her? He couldn't bear to think. The guilt was suffocating, burying him alive. Alara. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Alara, how do I repay everything you did for me? Alara, it hurts so much. Please tell me how I can earn your forgiveness. Julian cried until he fainted, nearly losing consciousness. His life belonged to Alara. No one knew how long he cried. When his tears finally dried, he staggered out of her room. Now he had only one thought left: to find Alara, and spend his entire life repaying her. Just then, Adrian called. Julian, under my interrogation, Bella confessed something else. What is it? The kidnapping incident. She staged it herself. It wasn't Alara. Adrian kept speaking angrily, but Julian could no longer hear anything. Shock after shock had shattered him. He curled into a corner, silently crying. So Alara had done nothing wrong. Yet he blindly believed Bella and kept hurting her, punishing her. Ha, ha, ha. Julian cried and laughed at once, losing his sanity. Alara suffered for him for 10 years, and after returning, he still hurt her. Ha, ha, ha. How pitiful Alara was. Ha, ha, ha. How disgusting he was. He wasn't even human. Bella. Julian gritted his teeth, hatred boiling. If not for Bella, Alara would not have suffered like this. He would not let Bella go. Once he found Alara, Bella would pay the price. The next day, after pulling himself together, Julian planned to add more manpower to search for Alara, but unexpectedly saw a piece of news. It was actually news from 2 months ago. It was a nationwide sensational report about the cracking of a women trafficking case. The village where Alara had been trafficked had caught on a raging fire, and all the girls who had been trafficked were rescued. According to relevant personnel, the one who rescued these innocent women was a woman who had once been trafficked herself. She returned to the village and cooperated with the police, successfully rescuing dozens of innocent women. Julian's mind boomed, utterly shocked. Even without a name being revealed, he knew the woman had to be Alara. So he immediately contacted the media and used every means available to finally learn Alara's whereabouts. It turned out that Alara really had gone to rescue those girls, and she wasn't alone. Accompanying her was the president of the Lou Corporation, Silas. No wonder he couldn't find any trace of Alara. Her tracks must have been erased by Silas. Good for you, Silas. They were classmates, yet he deliberately made sure Julian couldn't find Alara. Julian immediately stormed toward the Lou Corporation. He wanted Silas to give him an explanation. But unexpectedly, Julian was turned away at the door. Mr. Song, I'm sorry, but President Lou has no time for visitors today. The receptionist in the lobby said politely. No time? I think Silas is just deliberately avoiding me. Julian was furious. What did Silas mean by this? Was he purposely keeping him from seeing Alara? Alara was his legitimate wife. What right did Silas have to stop him from seeing her? Tell me which floor Silas's office is on. I'll go find him myself. Sir, please calm down. Without an appointment, President Lou will not meet anyone. Julian snapped. Appointment? He's avoiding me on purpose. Your President Lou hid my wife, and he's too guilty to face me. If you don't let me see him, I'll call the police and accuse him of kidnapping my wife. Julian caused a huge scene in the lobby, drawing countless curious onlookers. At this point, he no longer cared about dignity. He just wanted to bring Alara back. Finally, after he caused enough commotion, Silas finally appeared. Julian quieted down when he saw the man. He looked over the tall, cold, imposing man with disdain. You're Silas? Haven't seen you in years. Seems like you've become a whole different person. I don't have time to chat. Hand Alara back to me. Silas sneered. Hand Alara back to you? Julian, Alara is a person, not an object. How exactly am I supposed to hand her to you? Julian grabbed his collar and growled through gritted teeth. I don't have time for word games. If you don't give Alara back, I'm calling the police and saying you kidnapped my wife. Silas shoved him away and provoked. Go ahead and call the police. But what evidence do you have that I kidnapped your wife? Need me to remind you? You and Alara have no legal relationship. Julian froze, his face instantly turning pale. Right, he had looked down on Alara before and never got a marriage certificate. Even if he called the police, they wouldn't take the case. But so what? Alara liked him, loved him. Who cared about a marriage license? He then threatened again. Silas, my relationship with Alara is none of your business. But if you don't send her back, I'll tell everyone tomorrow that Silas, president of Lou Corporation, is shamelessly playing the homewrecker. His threat worked, and Silas brought Julian home. Strangely, Silas didn't seem angry at all. He even seemed pleased. When they reached Silas's villa, he even courteously opened the car door for Julian. Silas, what trick are you trying to play? Silas raised a brow. No tricks. I just really liked what you said earlier. Homewrecker? Alara's lover? Very good, he liked that very much. Silas, you're back? Did you buy the little cakes I asked you to? Alara froze when she saw who came in. Julian's eyes widened sharply when he saw her. In just a few months, Alara looked like a completely different person. She wore a white spaghetti strap dress, her thick dark waves cascading over her shoulders. More importantly, she was no longer haggard or aged. She looked so fresh and youthful she could be mistaken for a beautiful college girl. Julian was utterly stunned. Alara was stunning, so stunning that Bella couldn't compare at all. He couldn't believe he had ever disliked Alara before. Alara was surprised to see Julian, but quickly composed herself. She glanced at him unhappily and said angrily, Silas, I asked you to bring back little cakes, and instead you brought back a person? A beauty looked charming even when angry. Silas couldn't resist her at all. He quickly produced the cakes and coaxed. My little ancestor, how could I forget what you asked? Here, they're all your favorite flavors. And this man wasn't someone I brought back. He shamelessly followed me. Humph. For the cake's sake, I'll forgive you. Julian was shocked speechless. Not only was Alara prettier and younger, she was also acting adorably spoiled. This coquettish, lively Alara was someone he had never seen before. Alara. Julian swallowed, speaking carefully. Alara didn't even look at him. She walked past him and asked, Why are you here? Are you here to accuse me of something? No. Alara, I came to take you home. Everything before was my fault. I know I was wrong. I just want you to come back with me. Alara gave him a glance, lifted her chin proudly and sneered. Go home? This is my home. Where exactly should I go back to? Silas's mood brightened at her words. Then, in front of Julian, he gently wiped cream off the corner of Alara's mouth in a very intimate manner. He said dotingly, "Don't listen to his nonsense. This is your home. You're not going anywhere with him." Julian's jealousy burned so fiercely, he thought his eyes might burst into flames. If he had been slandering Silas earlier, now he was certain. Silas absolutely had improper intentions toward Alara. "Silas, talk if you want, but why are you touching Alara?" "She's my wife, show some respect." "Wife?" Silas snorted, then turned to ask, "Alara, he says you're his wife, are you?" While eating her cake, Alara shook her head, her cheeks adorably puffed. "I'm not. I never was. Don't talk nonsense. Forget a marriage certificate. We didn't even share a bed. How would I be his wife?" Silas's heart melted at how cute she looked. He grabbed her chin and kissed her cheek hard, ignoring Julian entirely. "Alara, you're still too thin. Eat more." Boom. Julian stood frozen, overcome with rage. Consumed by jealousy, he lunged forward to punch Silas. But Silas dodged easily and grabbed Julian's wrist, eyes dark with fury. "Julian, what do you think this place is? Your home? I'm warning you, don't push your luck." Julian struggled but couldn't break free. In anger he shouted, "Silas, don't think this means you'll get Alara. She only loves me." "Julian, sometimes you really shouldn't be so confident." Silas laughed at him. Julian ignored him and looked tearfully at Alara. "Alara, I'm sorry. I treated you badly because I was deceived by Bella. But I know now, I'll never treat you like that again." Despite his sincerity, Alara remained unmoved. She said coldly, "So I want you to come back with me. I found out the traffickers originally wanted to kidnap me, not us. You took the blame for me. Once we go back, I'll treat you twice as well. I'll never be like before." "And also," he added quickly, "didn't you always want us to register our marriage? Once we return, we'll get our marriage certificate and be a real couple." "What about Bella?" Alara asked. Julian's eyes brightened, thinking she was agreeing. "Bella did terrible things to you. I'll have nothing to do with someone so vicious again." Alara laughed mockingly. "Bella truly isn't a good person. But what about you? You're even worse. You said more than once that you wanted to give up searching for me. It was Bella who kept encouraging you, right? And that's when you fell for her, isn't it?" Julian opened his mouth, but couldn't deny it. Bella's kindness and sincerity had indeed moved him. Alara saw his expression and sneered even more. "Julian, I suffered all this because of you. Yet you wanted to give up searching for me. You're an ungrateful, shameless wolf. And there's something you don't know. Do you know why the traffickers wanted to kidnap you?" "Why?" "Because the traffickers were hired by Bella. She cooperated with them, planning to have you sold into the mountains so she could heroically save you and win your heart. But her scheme aimed at you ended up destroying me instead." Alara shook with fury, eyes red. "What kind of sin did I commit to become the victim of your twisted love story?" She then laughed coldly. "Ridiculous. You loved her because you thought she was kind. But she orchestrated everything. She encouraged you to search for me not out of kindness, but out of guilt. Yet you mistook that guilt for kindness and fell in love with her. Julian, don't you think you're pathetic?" A storm raged in Julian's heart. He never imagined the case had deeper layers, and that the mastermind was the seemingly harmless Bella. Remembering everything that happened over the years, how he and Bella lived happily while Alara suffered endlessly, and the one who caused it all was Bella. Ha. Julian felt his chest tighten, a metallic taste rising in his throat. He no longer cared about Alara. He only wanted to find Bella and make her pay. He said to Alara, "Alara, I'm sorry. I promise you, I will make Bella pay with her blood. I will definitely avenge you." After throwing down those words, he left Silas's villa filled with murderous intent. Silas said with some worry, "What if he does something stupid?" Alara shrugged. "What does that have to do with me? This has always been between him and Bella. I'm the most innocent person in this whole mess." Silas pulled her into his arms with heartache. "It's okay, Alara. Everything is over now. Let me love you well for the rest of your life." Meanwhile, Julian arrived at the Nan residence. At this moment, he was full of murderous rage, his eyes blood red, expression vicious, looking like he was ready to kill. Bella still hadn't realized the danger. She was sulking in her room, thinking that once the cooling-off period was over, she would make Julian come coax her properly. She did not expect the door to be kicked open the next second, and then saw Julian walking in with a knife. Bella was so terrified she couldn't move at all. Cold sweat dripped down her face as her trembling voice said, "Julian, what are you trying to do? Calm down first, please put the knife down, okay?" Julian had already lost all reason. Every time he thought about all the pain Alara suffered because of Bella, he couldn't calm down at all. "Bella." Julian pointed the knife at her, his tone furious and agitated. "Alara told me everything. The kidnapping back then was done because you paid traffickers to abduct me, didn't you? You didn't expect an innocent Alara to be taken instead, ruining her entire life. All of this was your doing, wasn't it?" Bella's face instantly lost all color, utterly defeated. No, I couldn't have." "Shut up. How long are you going to deny it? This is the trafficker's confession. Why would he lie?" Julian was so emotional that the knife in his hand almost stabbed forward. Bella, half scared to death, broke down crying helplessly. "Julian, I'm sorry. Back then, I just wanted you to notice me, so I came up with that terrible idea. As for Alara, she can only blame her bad luck. Why was she so unlucky to be dragged into it? But you have to believe me, I never intended to hurt you. I planned to show up the moment you were taken away. I would never have let you be in any real danger." "Bella." Julian roared in grief and anger. He had never imagined a person could be this vicious. Thinking about all the years he loved her, slept with her, Julian felt utterly nauseated. How could I have fallen in love with someone like you? What did I do wrong to be played around by you like a fool? Bella, you really are the greatest punishment of my life." Bella felt heartbroken, in unbearable pain. She loved Julian deeply, obsessively. She couldn't accept being hated like this. She cried hysterically. "But what is wrong with falling in love with you? If only you had noticed me earlier, why would I have used such a horrible method to get your attention?" Alara was born the young lady of the Nan family, loved by everyone, beautiful, kind, and a superstar at school. But me? I was the child of a mistress, hated by everyone from birth, bullied at school. I was like a rat crawling in the gutter, living a life with no sunlight. But even someone as low as me still fell in love with you. Yet your eyes only ever saw the dazzling Alara and never me. I could have nothing, but I refused to accept that I couldn't have you. Yes, I was insane enough to come up with kidnapping, but the truth is, the plan was successful. Even though things went wrong, you still fell in love with me, and I became the most cherished daughter of the Nan family. I got everything I wanted. As time passed, I became kinder. When I heard you didn't want to look for Alara, I felt guilty and kept persuading you to search for her. But who knew? My kindness became my retribution. I never should have pushed you to find Alara." Julian stared blankly at the crazed woman before him, his expression filled with pain. He slowly put down the knife, collapsing in despair and calm resignation. He said, "Bella, both you and I are wrong. We both deserve to be sliced to death. I promised Alara I would avenge her, so I will make you taste all the suffering she endured." A few days later, Silas's villa welcomed another uninvited guest. But this time it wasn't Julian, it was Adrian. This was the first time Alara saw Adrian so nervous. He held an armful of gifts, looking apologetic as he said, "Alara, I'm sorry. It was all Big Brother's fault before. I'm here to apologize. Can you forgive me?" Alara glanced at him coldly, her tone distant. "You did nothing wrong. You don't need to apologize to me." Adrian's pupils tightened, and his expression twisted in pain. "Alara, what do you want me to do to earn your forgiveness? As long as you're willing to forgive me and come home with me, I'll do anything. I know everything now. It was all Bella's fault. Don't worry, we've already cut ties with her. Mom and Dad are waiting at home, hoping for your return." Alara sighed. "Brother, go home. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere." "Alara." Adrian's eyes turned red as he choked out. "You're my only sister. Can you really bear to cut me off?" "Brother, you're wrong. From the start, it was all of you who cut me off. So now, isn't this exactly what you wanted?" Adrian was overwhelmed with regret. If he could redo everything, he would never have treated his own sister that way. Silas, unable to watch any longer, spoke up. Brother Adrian, Elara has already made herself clear. Staying here won't change anything. You should leave. And don't worry, I'll take good care of Elara. I will never abandon her like you all did. Adrian's face flushed blue then red in shame. But now he no longer had the right to blame anyone. He could only warn Silas. If you dare bully Elara in the future, our Nan family will never let you go. Silas sneered. Don't worry, Brother Adrian. Not everyone is as hypocritical and heartless as your Nan family. Adrian knew he was in the wrong and couldn't stay any longer. Before leaving, he said, Elara. Bella. She was taken away by Julian. As for where, I don't know. The only thing I do know is Julian might be going to prison this time. 1 month later, Julian reappeared, older, haggard, worn down compared to before. Elara, Julian said excitedly. After 1 month, Elara had only become more beautiful, like a flower about to bloom. They say being loved is like being nurtured. Half a year of marriage with him only made her more haggard. Yet less than half a year with Silas had turned her into this stunning person. He really was no match for Silas. Elara. How have you been? Julian asked carefully, then laughed at himself. Why wouldn't you be well? You're beautiful now. I'm the one who's no longer worthy of you. Elara didn't want to hear his nonsense. She no longer felt anything for him. Why are you here? I came to apologize. And to say goodbye. You were right. Your whole life was ruined by me and Bella, so I will repay you. He continued. I kidnapped Bella and sent her to a remote village. I married her off to an old, disabled man there. I want her to taste the suffering you endured for 10 years. I'm going to turn myself in now. But don't worry, I'll never tell anyone where Bella is. I want her trapped in that village for life, never able to come out. Elara felt complicated. She never expected the ending to turn out like this. It was almost poetic justice. She looked at Julian, remembering their past, sighing internally. She said, Julian, I won't thank you for any of this, because these were your choices. I know. I don't expect your thanks. I just want you to have the happiness you deserve. He paused, tears falling as he sincerely said, Elara, Silas is a good man. You're better off with him than with me. I hope you'll live a peaceful, happy life from now on. Thank you. Julian looked at Elara, tears streaming down, but everything was over. He turned and left, going straight to the police station to surrender. After he left, Elara sighed heavily, only to fall into a warm embrace. Silas hugged her tightly from behind, smiling dotingly. What? You miss him? Nonsense. I'm just sighing about my tragic fate. Elara, I promise you, your life from now on will be smooth and happy, without any more misfortune. Elara lowered her head with a shy smile, then looked up to act cute. Then, can I have a piece of cake? Good girl. Forget cake. You could eat me if you want. Elara burst into an even brighter smile. Yes, from then on, her life would only be smooth, happy, and joyful forever.